coming to the construction of DC machines, let us first of all know the basic working principle of a DC generator and a DC motor. If you see that, you can observe that the electrical machine which converts the electrical energy to the mechanical energy is said to be called as a motor, whereas an electrical machine which converts the mechanical energy to electrical energy is said to be called as an electrical generator. So, the basic working principle of a motor is whenever a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a force, whereas an electrical generator basic working principle is whenever the conductor cuts the magnetic flux, an EMF is induced in it. So, whether it is a generator or a motor, in case of DC machines, the construction remains the same. So, the machines which work with alternating supply are said to be called as the AC machines, and the machines which work with the electrical energy of direct type are called DC machines. As we have said that the construction of DC machine, whether it is a generator or motor, it remains basically the same. So coming to the construction, so all the DC machines works on Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So it consists of mainly, the DC machine consists of mainly two parts. One is the stationary part, second one is the rotating part. In case of stationary part of a DC machine, it consists of main poles which are responsible for the establishment of magnetic field, whereas the rotating part is said to be called as the armature. So if you see the sectional view of a DC machine, here you can observe that these are the four poles and the winding is being wound on the four poles, which is said to be called as the field winding. And you can also see that these are the this is the commutator, and the outermost cover is said to be called as the yoke or frame, and here you can observe the armature conductors. So let us see one by one, step by step. So coming to the parts of a DC machine, as we have already seen in the cross section, one is the yoke, second one is the poles, third one is the field winding, and fourth one is the armature, and the fifth one is the brushes, sixth one is the commutator, and last one are the bearings. So coming to the first one, yoke or the frame. So the basic purpose of the yoke is nothing but it acts as the outermost cover of a DC machine. If you see that, this is nothing but acting as the outermost cover of a DC machine. So it protects entire equipment from dust, moisture, etc. So it also gives a mechanical support to the poles. So the purpose of this yoke is to act as an outermost cover which protects the entire materials from dirt and dust, and also it provides mechanical support for the poles. If you see that in the cross sectional view, you can observe that here this is the outermost cover, so it is protecting the entire equipment from dust and dirt, and also it is acting as a support for the poles, right? So in case of small machines, it is generally made up of cast iron, whereas in case of larger machines, it is made up of cast steel. Then coming to the second one, that is the pole core and pole shoes of a DC generator. So each pole is being divided into two parts. One is the pole core, you can observe in the figure. This portion is said to be called as the pole core, and here you can see that this is the pole shoe. So pole core carries the field winding to produce the necessary flux, whereas if you see that the pole shoe shape is being given in such a way that here you can observe that it is in this shape. So it enlarges the area of the armature core in such a way that to come across the flux. So when flux comes in contact with the armature conductors, EMF gets induced in the armature. So that is the reason this pole shoe is being given a particular shape. So this is also generally made up of cast iron or cast steel, and if you see that it is laminated construction. So if you see that this portion is said to be called as the pole core and this portion is said to be called as the pole shoe. So purpose of pole core, it carries the field winding which is producing the necessary flux, whereas pole shoe is enlarging the area of the armature core so that it comes in contact with the flux. So here a laminated structure is being given of required size and shape and are stamped together to get a pole, and this structure is then bolted to the yoke. Then coming to the field winding, if you see that this is the field winding which is wound on the pole core with a definite direction. So the purpose of this pole core is nothing but to carry the current due to which the pole core on the field winding is placed behaves as an electromagnet. So when the winding is being placed on the pole core and current is being made to pass through the winding, so it behaves as an electromagnet and produces the necessary flux. So as it is exciting the pole as an electromagnet, so this winding is said to be called as field winding as well as exciting winding. So generally it is made up of copper wire because it has to carry the current, so it should be made up of a conducting material. So in general aluminum or copper you can prefer. So based upon the requirement, that is nothing but if you observe that in the first figure itself, the field coils are nothing but they have to be bent around the pole core. So copper has good liability, so it can be bent easily. So that is the reason copper is being chosen here. Then coming to the armature, it is further divided into two parts. One is the armature core, second one is the armature winding. So if you see that the armature structure, it is cylindrical in shape and it is being mounted on the shaft. So if you see the structure, it consists of slots. These are said to be called as the slots. You can observe in the figure here on its periphery, and there are also air ducts which are said to be called as the air holes. So to permit the flow of circulation of the air through the armature, so as for cooling purpose. Then what is the purpose of this armature core? Generally armature core provides house for the armature windings, that is the armature conductors, and also it provides a path of low reluctance to the magnetic flux produced by the field winding. Then with what material does the armature core is being made up of? It is also made up of cast iron or cast steel. So if you see the armature structure, it is also laminated type of construction, right? You can observe here. So in the previous case, pole core or pole shoe, there also you can observe the laminated type of construction. Here also you can see that it is laminated construction. So which indicates that in order to minimize the eddy current losses, the structure is nothing but laminated type of construction is being chosen. Then Coming to the armature winding, if you see in the second figure, the winding is being placed here. You can observe that it is nothing but the interconnection of the windings placed in the slots. Right. When the armature is being rotated, flux cutting action takes place and EMF gets induced in the conductor. That is being done in the armature itself. So the basic function is nothing but EMF gets generated in the armature winding of a DC generators. So armature winding, as it is also carrying the current which depends upon the load, it is also made up of a conducting material which is generally a copper. Then coming to the commutator, so the purpose of commutator is it converts the alternating current AC into a unidirectional current. That is, the alternating current which is being AC which is being developed is being converted into unidirectional current. So the structure of the commutator is cylindrical and it is made up of wedge-shaped commutator segments of high conductivity, and if you see that the segments are insulated from each other. So each commutator segment is connected to the armature by means of copper strip or copper lug. It can also be called as a riser. The next one is the brushes. Brushes are generally made up of carbon or graphite, and if you see that the shape of the brush, you can observe that they are in the shape of a rectangular block. So the function of this brush is to collect the current from the commutator. These are generally made up of carbon or graphite. So if you see that these brushes are generally housed in the rectangular box shaped brush holder or a brush box. Then coming to the bearings, for small machines ball bearings are used, right, and in order to get the smooth operation and long life of the generator, the bearings must always be lubricated properly. Thank you.